All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for the cross country and snowshoeing winter 2021 preseason webinar. Um, my name is Jennifer Tresp, and I will be one of your hosts tonight. Along with me is Mike Ermer. We have a lot of information on tonight's webinar. We're hoping to make sure we get it done within 1 hour. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the question and answer area or the chat area. We will make sure that we have time to take care of all of your questions. Everybody is on mute at this time. We would like you to stay on mute until the end of the presentation when we do open it up for some questions. We'd like to cover the material first and take questions afterwards. We just might answer something for you later on in the presentation that you're thinking of. All right, so here's the agenda. We got some housekeeping to do, sport rules updates, return to activities overview, virtual sectional and fall festival competitions, sport guides for coaching that will include some practice planning, skills and drills, events offered this season, and of course, the virtual offerings. So we'll jump right in with some coaching topics. As always, remember we need to maintain the 1-to-4 ratio. This is to be maintained while coaching and training, while traveling, as well as competition. Coaches must be a Class A volunteer to be in the 1-to-4 ratio. And remember that Class A volunteer is someone who has a cleared background clearance. They've taken protective behaviors, general orientation, and concussion training. Okay, certified coaches, we are being flexible right now while we are in a lot of virtual trainings. We're being flexible. We would prefer the head coach to be certified, but we are not requiring it right now during the winter season. Once we return to in-person competition, and things are looking like almost back to normal, just a reminder that team sports and individual skills must have at least one certified coach per team and at least one certified coach for individual skills. Okay, so if you have 3 teams, you need 3 certified coaches, and if you still have individual skills in that group, then yes, you will need a certified coach for that group. Individual skills, in those sports, there must be at least one certified coach, and that is for every 25 athletes during training and competition. Snowshoeing as well as cross-country skiing are considered individual sports and fall under the one certified coach for every 25 athletes at training. Athlete medicals, you may have heard or may have known that we had given a 6-month extension on those medicals that ran from March to July of 2020. We know it was difficult for people to get in to see doctors, but as of August 1st, you are now required to have a medical, an updated and current medical, if your medical has expired August 1st, and so on. All right, so by the end of this year, everyone should be working on new medicals. Okay, so please, if you're doing any activities this winter, cross-country skiing, or the fitness heptathlon, we should be seeing updated medicals. And as always, high-risk individuals should not be returned to in-person training. They may do virtual training, but they cannot do in-person training until Pennsylvania is in Phase E. Okay. This is just a little bit about job descriptions and the level of responsibilities. The main things I'd like to point out here is the head coach, of course, should be certified in the sport. They are responsible to develop the the practice plans, and then they should assign duties to the assistant coaches. The assistant coaches are there to help. So the assistant coaches, under their responsibilities, is there to perform the duties assigned by the head coach. So please make sure that you are working together, sharing the practice plans and sharing responsibilities. It makes it much easier when two people are working in, or three people or four, instead of just one person in a training. If you are looking for the full person position descriptions, they can be found on the SOPA website on the resource and training tab, which the link is right there on the bottom, and you will receive a copy of this email by going, of this PowerPoint by going to the sports offered page under cross country skiing or snowshoeing. It will be listed there. The Visas portal, I'd like to take you through a couple of items on the portal. So when you are in your personal portal, training schools, webinars, and more is a tab that I would like you to take some time and go through. This is where you would be signing up for training schools. This is where you would be telling me if you're interested in taking a training school. This is if you have an experienced coach who joins you and you don't want to send them through a training school, there's a form here for an experienced coach. The main thing you need to know is if any of your coaches are interested in a training, they must sign up through the trainings through this tab. Again, it is training schools, webinar, and more, and it is on your Visas portal page. The newest item on the Visas portal is the sports training application is there. At this time, if you have taken a new training, you would need to go to the webinars, training schools, and more. Click on sports training application, coaching hours, and then fill in the following information. You can see it in the red box there. It asks for you the job, and the job is referring to what sport you are looking to put continuing ed hours in it. The location is the county you did your hours, and then it asks for the date, the time you started practice, and how long your practice was. When you complete that, you will submit that, and then it'll come back to this page and ask you if you would like to submit more hours. So all 10 hours must be submitted through this page. Please note that you cannot submit your hours all at one time. It will not take more than 3 hours for any of the trainings. And remember, 3 hours is for a competition. No matter how many days or how long, it is 3 hours you receive for it. Then you'll hit the save button, and then you are able to move over onto the My Information tab. My Information tab will show you a list of everything you submitted for that sport. You can delete them from here. If you delete them and need to go back and put something in, you'll simply have to go back to the training schools webinar and more and add in the time. Once you have the 10 hours here, a note will be sent to myself or John Bronson, who is assisting me, and we will make sure your hours are entered into your record. Also, please note that we will send an email to your program manager, who hopefully will share it with your training coordinator. And that note will tell them that you've completed your hours and this is what the hours are. And if they have any objections, they can let me know. And what I mean by objections is if there was not a training that night or they know you weren't there, they can let me know and we can have a chat about your 10 hours and how to fix them up and proceed from there. Okay. Also on that tab, you will find Class A required trainings. If you need to update your protected behaviors, general orientation, or concussion training, this is the tab that you will want to be on. I know that it is showing Fit 5 on this tab, but please note that Fit 5 has been moved and it is under training schools, webinar, and more. When you go into your portal on the front page, you will see those red boxes that's highlighted right there. Those boxes are telling you if you are up to date on your background clearance. protective behaviors, general orientation, as well as concussion training. So the front of your record will tell you what you need to do, and then you simply go to your Class A training requirements. Looking for continuing education on the website, under volunteer resources, click volunteer center, and then continuing ed courses option. You will be able to click on a list. There are a lot of options available to you. I will be updating it shortly with even more opportunities. So when you have the chance, please go check out that list. If you need continuing ed, remember it's once every 3 years to maintain your certification. But that is where you find your continuing ed. Improving communications. We have a Facebook group. I'm hoping you are all on it. If not, you really need to get on it. It's a great way to share information, to ask questions. It's coach to coach helping you out. You'll see that the SOPA competition and training department both respond on this Facebook page. They also add information, things you need to know, and updates. So if you want to make sure you got the latest information, join our Facebook group. The webinar series Lunch and Learns will be back in January. If you have any ideas for topics, please send them my way at jtresp@specialolympicspa.org. We will kick it off in January with a fitness training. So we will have some great fitness information, some new ideas of how to do some virtual fitness, and the great activities that I think you and your athletes will enjoy. So you will see an advertisement for that coming up very soon. One of the other items we're still working on is the coaches training and progression plan. We would love to see you participating with us. So if you are a Class A volunteer and you are certified in one sport, you can start working on your bronze level. The bronze level has you activating your Fit5 account, working on personal best performance goals, and then taking the course Coaching Special Olympics Athletes. Then for silver, you're going to work on goal setting, training for a minimum of 10 weeks per season, and taking principles of coaching as well as coaching unified sports. In the very near future, we will be announcing when we will be offering Coaching Special Olympic Athletes, coaching unified sports, and principles of coaching in-person trainings. We are going to do them this weekend. It is a 2-day course. It's 3 hours one morning, 2 hours the next morning, and you may take the course from the comfort of your living room. Okay? And then finally, the goal is when you're going to start working on advanced sport skills tactics. You're going to be training twice a week for 10 weeks and developing a year-round training and wellness plan for your athletes. So that is the coach's training and progression plan. Please remember, you can submit a form during your completion of each of these levels. You receive a laminated credential with your photo and name on it stating what level of certification you have with a matching lanyard. Fit5, we talked about Fit5 a little bit, of where to find it and sign up. Basically, Fit5 is a program that talks about fitness and health information, a little more than sports, and you just implement it 5 to 10 minutes before, during, or after your practices. It's a turnkey program. Everything is set up for you. The book you're seeing at the top is the athlete's book. There is a coach's book as well as fitness cards. What Fit5 emphasizes is 5 fruits and vegetables a day, 5 bottles of water a day, and fitness 5 days a week, exercising for 30 minutes. World Games in 2022, Winter Games will be in Russia. Those 8 athletes who were waiting to go, I believe it was this year, who were not able to go will be attending the games in Russia on January 22nd through the 28th. In 2023, the next World Games will take place in Berlin, Germany in June, and we will have more information on that for you shortly. 2020 USA Games will take place on June 5th through the 11th in Orlando, Florida, 2020. So the requirements are that the athletes complete the pre-selection questionnaire. That is a new questionnaire. There is a link. We will make sure you have a copy of that link. And again, you will be able to find that on the website also. And the athletes have to submit this by March 1st, 2021 to show us their interest. And if they are interested, they must be participating in at least one commit to fit activity this winter. And we're looking for the commit to fit activities would be the Strides Challenge, the Fitness Heptathlon, at-home training, or in-person training. And we know also, we do understand that not all of our athletes are able to participate in person. That's why we are including the virtual fitness heptathlon, the virtual at-home training, as well as Strides. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to Mike Ermer. Mike is your head of delegation for these games, and he is accepting applications for coaches. Okay. So if you are interested in being a coach, you can download the application on our website and then make sure they are to Mike Ermer at mermer@specialolympicspa.org on January 31st, 2021. So our new HOD is ready to go over the return to activities. Mike, it's all yours.
Thanks, Jen. I know you've had that title before and how much fun it is. All right, so we're going to go through some updates to the return to activities plan. I know we've had a couple of meetings and webinars on this. This really is, Chelsea's specialty. So I'll do my best to go through at a high level, because then it goes into a lot of detail. But major questions, hopefully I'll be able to ask. If not, we can throw those over to Chelsea and she can clear them up. Right here, this is our updated infographic, kind of our quick check on our situation with how we're managing return to activities. Pennsylvania has kind of phased out of the color scheme that they had back in the spring and into the early summer. We all knew that if we went back to red or yellow, there would probably be pitchforks and torches in a county if that happened. So we are now using a system that, and we'll explain it on the next slide a little more, that the PA Department of Education uses to designate counties. If you can just go back real quick for 1 second. So we still have that, instead of being red, yellow, green, they are now substantial rate of transmission, moderate rate of transmission, and low rate of transmission. Special Olympics, as we know, is designated as an amateur sports organization. By the Pennsylvania rules, we can only participate in anything when we're in a low or moderate community transmission phase. So anytime your county is designated as having substantial levels of community transmission, you're going to be in phase A, which is that at-home virtual training. Once you guys transition into moderate and low levels of community transmission, we can get back to that in-person training. We've made a few tweaks to that flow, going in and out of the substantial and the moderate or low, which I think are some really good changes for us as a group, and we'll go into those in a minute. We'll go to the next slide. This will break down a little more specifically what this rate of transmission is. So the level of community transmission identifies the current level of transmission of COVID-19 in each of the counties. The state uses these parameters. So it is the incident rate per 100,000 residents within the most recent 7 days. And you guys can see that sliding scale. If it's under 10, that is one of the parameters to be low. If it is 10 to 100, that will put you in the moderate rate. And if it is over 100, that puts you in the substantial transmission field. As well, there's a percent positivity on the testing in your area. If that is below 5% and you have that incident rate under 10, you are low, you are good. The moderate, you can pop into moderate. Again, like I mentioned, if you're between 10 and 100, or if your percent positivity rate is between 5 and 10, and then substantial, again, if you're over 100, or if your percent positivity rate is over 10. Good news is this is not something you guys have to track individually. Like I said, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has this, and they've been actually tracking this since July. And they've got a website that you can go to. We can share the link out. It's a link that it goes to a website, but it immediately downloads an Excel file. It lists all the counties. It lists every week going back to July what their level of community transmission is. Right now, I'm sure if anybody has watched the news, you guys all know across the state, it's a substantial situation. So hopefully, this wave will calm down and we'll be able to get back into our lower moderate situation. If we can bump on over, that'd be great. So the thing is that's really nice is that this new procedure of tracking the community transmission doesn't take effect until December 1st. So currently, if you guys are training in person, you can continue to train. If you're still working on some fall sports, you're still working on the fitness level of the athletes, keep going. Once we hit December 1st, Chelsea's going to work with the field directors. That's the line of communication to get word out to the local programs as to where they stand in the rate of transmission. Again, this information comes out every Monday. So every Monday, we're going to check, see where everybody stands, and make the call as necessary. In-person sport training, competition, meetings, social gatherings, anything in person is not permitted when a program is designated as having a substantial level of community transmission. And like we mentioned on that first slide, if you are low to moderate, you are allowed to do some in-person training. All right. If you guys want to check it out before you see the link, if you just Google PA level of community transmission, hit enter, it'll pop right up. It's from the PA Department of Education, and you can just hit it and it'll download an Excel file for you. All right, I think we skipped the slide real quick. We can bounce back one more. And again, this is just kind of reiterating, county designated as having low to moderate community transmission, and then is reclassified as substantial. The SOPA programs must go to phase A, okay, that at-home virtual training. And this is kind of the change. So when a county is designated as having substantial levels of community transmission, the local program shut down for at least 14 days. Like I said, the field directors will alert the local program manager and the COVID-19 coordinators about having that change of status. But then the SOPA field directors will alert the program manager and COVID coordinators when the in-person activities may resume. The site can then resume activities at the phase they were in. So if you can make it up to phase C, all right, and then your transmission rate takes you into that substantial category, and you guys have to go into phase A and let things calm down for 2 weeks. When you come back, you can go back to phase C. In the fall, it was a little different. We had everybody starting back in phase B to kind of get our legs back under us. But since we've been through the fall, we kind of understand the process of the COVID protocols upon entering a training. We've made the decision that programs can enter back to where they were. They don't have to start from square one. So if you guys make it all the way to D, you have a spike, everything calms down, you can come right back into D, which is, I think it's very exciting personally. All right, and next we've got just some examples. So just picking a name out of the hat, first on the alphabetical list. For example, Adams is in a substantial situation. They have to shut down for 1 week. Okay, then they go into moderate. they're still shut down because they have to take that 14 waiting period, and then they can come back once that 14-day of being calm comes back. They can resume in person. Okay, so it's at least 14 days. There may be some situations like on this next slide where we're substantial for a longer amount of time. The field directors are going to talk to you guys, communicate with the programs. This is a lot of examples.
There we go.
There we go. Now I'm not sure, this is one of the questions I have. I'm not sure why there's these 2 weeks in the moderate. That's a great question for Chelsea. But the field directors are going to monitor. They're going to keep checking in with Chelsea, who will keep monitoring the Department of Education, talk to the health professionals, and then you'll be able to resume once you get back into that moderate phase and everything is calmed down. So we'll just skip past this one because I'm confused there.
I believe that's your 14 days, Mike, that you're
Okay.
that you have to wait before going back to participate.
Gotcha. All right. As far as travel goes, we've made some adjustments to our travel plans. So at a low level, locals programs cannot travel in buses or vans. Transportation is allowed outside of county lines to train and compete. Highly recommended that participants avoid the use of public transportation or limit capacity when carpooling with someone who does not live in their home. We want to limit that capacity in that carpool to 4 people maximum, and 6 people provided there's an extra row of seats. There must always be an open seat in between the individuals in the transportation. If a participant must travel with someone outside of their household on a bus, trolley, subway, carpooling, they're required to follow the SOI and CDC guidelines, wearing a mask, maintaining social distancing as much as possible, not shaking hands, touching, and if possible, and I know this was a guideline that was for the fall. In the winter, it might be more difficult, but if there's a possibility that you guys can have some windows down in that carpool, that, as we know, as has been proven, helps mitigate the spread of the disease with that airflow. If SOPA is providing transportation, the COVID-19 coordinator or a trained volunteer must conduct the screening prior to the transportation leaving. So, it's essentially, we just want to make sure that we're checking our athletes or volunteers and making sure that if they're experiencing symptoms, if they have a high fever, they're not spreading on transportation to or from a venue. In the moderate level, still do not want to use buses or vans. This is the difference, is transportation is not allowed outside the county lines to train or compete. So all training has to stay within the county lines. And again, the same, highly recommended that participants avoid the use of transportation and carpooling. That's pretty much all the same. But so the major change is once you hit moderate, we want you staying inside of your county lines compared to low. All right. All right. And then again, we've really been pumping a lot of stuff onto the website. All of these protocols, the updated return to activities playbook, everything is on the SOPA website. There's a condensed coaches edition, so it's really just the high level stuff that you guys can maybe print out, have with you at a venue or at a training site, just so you guys can have quick reference. It doesn't have all of the verbiage in it, so it's a lot easier to kind of thumb through. Reminders that the SOPA phases, when we're in phase A, we're in virtual training and competition. Phase B, that's when we can move into the in-person and still have that virtual competition format available. That will always be available because we know we have some athletes that just won't be able to compete in person until we get to phase E, or even until the virus is gone. So we will always have that virtual training component available. All the other forms that you need are on there: code of conduct, training in a safe environment, the information on high-risk individuals. Like I said, they're not able to compete or train in person until phase E. And that includes all high-risk participants, volunteers, athletes, unified partners. So that's where we are at. Please, if you have any questions on our return to activities or our COVID protocols, reach out to Chelsea Hamill. Her email is right there. She is pretty quick on getting back to you. And Jen, I think you're going to take this part.
The coach's responsibilities.
Oh, nope, sorry, that was me. Sorry. So the coach responsibilities in regards to COVID, educate the athletes, partners, volunteers on the signs and symptoms, remind all high-risk athletes about the at-home training, ensure all participants are wearing their PPE, make sure that everybody's bringing their own water, drinks, there's no shared water jugs or coolers, ensure that athletes have access to equipment that is not shared with others during practice. We do allow some rental situations, particularly in the winter here, and then we make sure that athletes are avoiding that physical contact. All right, and then just a reminder, these are the things that everybody is required to bring their own. There is no sharing of face mask, water bottles, sports equipment, or towels. You can provide sports equipment to the athletes, but it has to be theirs for the duration of a practice. It's recommended that all the participants bring their own hand sanitizer, disinfectant, sunscreen if needed, bug spray, snacks, hair ties, hair bands, beard oil, toothbrushes, combs, everything. We want to make sure everything stays separate. And now it's off to you, Jen. Jump the gun.
All right, the fitness heptathlon. So the fitness heptathlon is an activity that can be done at home. It was designed to be done at home, but if you are training in level B or C, I think A also would be correct to say, you are able to be doing in person, then you are also able to do the fitness heptathlon in person. This is really important to know because if at any time we hit the substantial level and you need to move back to training at home, the athletes can continue working on the fitness heptathlon at home as with hey, I can almost talk. The athletes will be able to continue working at the fitness heptathlon at home, and it is competition and training for them also. So as we're seeing these cases of COVID-19 increase, we highly encourage that you start working with the fitness heptathlon with your athletes. It will run parallel to winter sports through the season of December 1st through the 19th. It's a great dryland cross-training program that will help improve the overall fitness of our athletes. We are having some really great results with athletes for the Stride Challenge, our in-person programming, as well as our fitness heptathlon for the programs who have already started. So let's keep the ball rolling. Divisioning and awards will be given actually based on a percentage of improvement, okay, throughout the program. And at winter games, at virtual winter games, we will have our award ceremonies. So our culminating event will be the virtual winter games. And a reminder, if you have athletes who want to be considered for the 2020 USA Games, they must be part of an activity, and commit to fitness heptathlon is one way to do it. How does this heptathlon work? So you have two trainings a week, and during those trainings you are working on your fitness. The athletes will choose 7 activities. There's a list of 26 exercises. They're from strength, agility, and endurance. So they will pick 2 activities from each of those areas, and then they have the last one is an activity from either the strength, agility, or endurance of their choosing. So that makes their 7 activities. They will train on these activities over 10-a-week program. You can compete in individual competition, a pairs team, a 4-man team, And in the pairs and the four-man team, we are doing both the traditional as well as unified. This is a coach-led program, and this will be the only unified program that allows a coach to actually be a unified partner. Okay, so all coaches and unified partners must be Class A. All participants must have a current medical on file or have completed an e-waiver. E-waiver is only acceptable for virtual training. So if you are doing in-person training, an e-waiver is not something that can be used. They must have a current medical. Okay. On the website, if you go to the Commit to Fit website and you choose Fitness Heptathlon, you will find all of our resources there. The Fitness Heptathlon Coaches Guide is there, along with the job description, a recording of our training sessions, and then the week-by-week training guide is also there. And again, it's 2 trainings a week. The athletes choose their 7 activities, and those are the same 7 they will compete in through the entire season. They will be submitting scores. One score will be a baseline score. Then 5 weeks later, we will get their mid-season score. 5 weeks later, we'll be looking for their final score. And again, this information must be communicated to your sport and competition coordinator from your program. They will be the ones submitting the information to SOPA, and we will be using the same process as we use for any of our other sports competitions. And again, the divisioning is based on percentage of improvement from your baseline to your mid-season, and then the awards are based on the percentage of improvement from the mid-season to the final of the season. Okay. And that's a little bit about the Fitness Heptathlon. Mike, back to you for training and competition.
I am muted no more. So we are currently with the committee developing our programming for the virtual Winter Games. I want to try to rebrand it as something, just because I think everybody's getting tired of virtual. I know my wife just, they were live in person teaching and now they are doing remote teaching. So I might try to make a push to call it the remote Winter Games. But it is a combination like we did with the sectionals. We are going to combine our traditional outdoor Winter Games and our indoor Winter Games to be one event, one celebration that will be held March 5th through 7th. We are also going to celebrate and award off of the Fitness Heptathlon at that event as well. So hopefully it'll be a big to-do. We've got the important dates. This link, obviously, as Jen said, this presentation will come out to you. These important dates for the winter are up on our website. That's a direct link to it. There's some dates for the Fitness Heptathlon, but as far as the winter sports, Visa's rosters are going to be due February 1st. Entry information will be due on February 11th. And then final scores to be able to compare things virtually will be due on March 1st. We'll talk a little bit about our plans for Phase D competition, I think, in a couple of slides here. So competition in Phase B and C, this is the same phases that we are in the fall. Also for Phase A, if we have some athletes that are doing some at-home, I believe floor hockey is still an option for at home, but coaches will collect and submit preliminary scores, like I mentioned, 3 weeks prior to the competition. Those will come to me for divisioning. I will division them by ability, age, and gender, our traditional divisioning situations. We still are upholding the honor code. So for example, in snowshoe, if somebody's running the 400 meters on a flat course, they should run that 400 meters for their preliminary scores and their final scores. That way we're comparing apples to apples. So we're comparing that time of, 90 seconds on the flat course. We can compare that to somebody who's running a 90-second 400 meter on a course that might be a little hilly. But that 90 seconds is still 90 seconds. Monday, prior to the event, the coach will submit final scores again through those Google Docs. I think everybody's getting pretty used to using those. So those come to me. We enter those into GMS. and then that produces our final results. We're still going to request coaches and athletes submit pictures and videos throughout the training season. We'll get those requests out probably. You guys start training on December 1st. We'll make that request December 2nd, so you guys can kind of compile some highlights, that we can share in that virtual celebration that first weekend in March. All right, phase D. Now this is one that's new, so we're working our way, kind of feeling through this. So phase D competition, in-person, local, invitational, and regional competitions will be allowed in accordance with the return to activities protocol. In phase D, we can't have more than 50 individuals at a venue. So there'll be some very strict scheduling. Probably, some working divisions or levels through in kind of a stagnated process. So results from these in-person competitions. So say we have a skiing competition over at Blue Mountain, and we have a skiing competition at Seven Springs. We are going to bring those times together. I'm going to get all of those times. So the athletes will get their awards for their invitational or regional competition, but then we'll be able to compare those times across the state since we can't get together for a state level competition. I'll put it into GMS, boil it around a little bit, and we'll come up with some state level results that we can celebrate as well on that March 5th through 7th weekend. So it's exciting. It's a different approach, but winter sports are always a little different. All right. Just some highlights. The honor code, we've gone over this a couple times in the fall. The point of this was that we removed the honest effort rule or the honest effort violation because we're not competing in person. So we're asking the coaches and athletes to abide by the rules. Only use one attempt to score. All right. We don't need multiple attempts so the athlete can take their best score. We want them to abide by the honor of the game. Following and enforcing rules, like I mentioned, having the athlete use the same course, or slopes or whatever it might be. We want to make sure that we're submitting exact times, different distance scores. Typo there, that's my fault. We want to follow all the virtual competition guidelines and standards, meet the deadlines for submissions, or communicate with me if you're having some issues procuring all the data that we need, and ensure that the athletes have all the proper equipment and practice facilities so they can train and compete at their best. Awards, like I mentioned, their place will be, a finish will be determined by the athlete's performance in each division. For floor hockey, that doesn't really apply to you guys, but similar to the way we did it in the fall, instead of having one overall individual skills score, each event will be awarded on its own. We're working to kind of figure out how the award ceremonies will look. I know that the sectional looks much different from the Fall Fest. We've heard some positive and negative feedback on each, so we're going to try to pick the highlights from each one of those to make sure our award ceremonies for Winter Games is going to be just hitting all the right notes. And then the way we will distribute those is we mail the awards to the program management teams, and we ask the managers to distribute them as they see necessary, probably to coaches and then to athletes.
All right, rule updates. Our sport directors, and both of them do happen to be on tonight's call. Sue Putman is our cross-country skiing sport director. There is her email if you would like to converse with Sue. Tom Marine takes care of snowshoeing, and his email is thesnowss@specialolympicspa.org. You can contact Tom or Sue with any questions you might have. And just so you know, we have rule books out. They are new rule books. The covers are new, but there are no new rule updates. Okay, but please note that for some reason the print in we think it's snowshoeing, or it might have been cross country skiing, the print is a little bit off, or as Mike likes to say, a bit wonky. So if you do need to print out the rules, I would recommend you print the 2018 rules out because they don't have the issues. We've contacted the appropriate people at our international office, and we are hoping that they will be able to get the rule books fixed for us. Okay.
Yep.
And Mike, going back to the return to activities.
Yeah, a little wonky, like a three-legged donkey. It's just not quite, it's a little bit off. Anyway, so we again have produced some of these return to activities guidance books. They are not nearly as intensive as the ones that we produced for the fall. There was a lot of information in the fall books. These are a little bit easier to digest. We're going back to kind of old school. We combined the cross country and snowshoe into one guidebook, and we're referring to it as the Nordic Sport Guidebook. And inside of there, for each sport, it has the some high level stuff on the SOPA requirements for the trainings. Meals, again, just some guidance on making sure that if you have to serve a meal at a training, that everything's individually wrapped. Again, all those protocols are in there. Same thing with rentals, warming during a training. Some information again about the B, C, and D competitions available, the A competition, and then like Jen said earlier, and I really can't recommend this enough, that your athletes, if they're training in person, also have the fitness heptathlon going on. It's a great cross training system. It's turnkey, it's right there for you. And then if things get a little bit weird and we have to shut down, your athletes are still competing, training, have a chance to get awards. At the virtual Winter Games, if we can award all of our snowshoeing and cross country athletes, that's great. We'll do that. If they were also competing in fitness heptathlon, that's just bonus hardware. They will also get awarded for that. So, again, I really can't recommend it highly enough, especially with how unpredictable things are right now. And then the last little bit, just my annual reminder, practice plans. Some of you guys know that I also coach and have been coaching for a long time at the high school and college level. Practice plans are vital to running an organized practice. It's often an overlooked step, but as Jen mentioned earlier, it's the role of the head coach is to be organized for practice, lay out this practice plan, share it with your assistants. It keeps you organized. So, you set specific times, like I'm going to spend 15 minutes working on this one skill set. After 15 minutes or however long, you allow for it, you run into something called the law of diminishing returns, where the effort that you're putting in to work on this skill is not getting the results that you're looking for. So it might be time to just put that one on the back burner, come back to it another practice, but setting those specific times really, keeps you on track. Allows you guys to be prepared for your next drill. If you can use your assistant coaches to set up the next station while you're finishing up the first station you're working on, makes it for a real quick transition. You're not sitting around for 5 minutes trying to set up what you want to do next. And then it maintains a really consistent structure to your practices. So, you flow from a warm up into, for cross country and snowshoe, maybe some shorter distance stuff, get the legs loose, get the lungs burning a little bit, and then you can build into those longer races. And then you can kind of structure out what your athlete's experience might be like at a competition where, they go hard, they take a rest, they come back, they're going hard again. So when they get into competition, they're used to kind of that pace and flow. So huge proponent of practice plan.
Okay, before we head into those questions, Mike, if you want to take a look at them.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Okay, if you don't mind indulging me, I just want to quickly take you to the SOPA website. The information Mike presented is found here on the COVID-19 protocol return to activities. And I know that most of you are very familiar with this page. You've been looking at it for a while, but all the activities fall under our Commit to Fit program. And you will see that it slides under this new era of SOPA fitness. Let's see if we can find the page real quick. So this is actually the page for Commit to Fit. If you click on it, you can get the fitness activities. Okay, this gives you a little information about them. But if you go to More Than Sport, Commit to Fit, you will come to the main website page. Here's where you will find Strides, the fitness heptathlon, at-home training, in-person training. Clicking on the fitness heptathlon will take you to all the information you need to do the fitness heptathlon. These are the 26 activities. Clicking on an activity takes you to an explanation page. It has the materials, the procedure for scoring, and you can even watch a video on how the skill is done. And just to brag a little bit, on these videos, in the corner of them, you will see a St. Francis University student who is instructing you on how to do it, as well as you will be seeing an athlete who is doing the activity. Going down a little farther, you'll find all the training resources. There are the training school information. We did hold 2 training schools. There's a copy of the slides as well as a copy of the webinars, a coach's tracking sheet, the coach's guide, the coach's responsibilities, and then the weekly training guide, which is the activities that should be done twice a week. You'll see there's a workout 1 and a workout 2. So that is how you can follow the information there. For at-home trainings, when you click on the tab, again, you will see that the only at-home training we have taking place is floor hockey. Okay, so when you click on this floor hockey, you will also receive the floor hockey guidelines. There's direct access to that. When we click back up, the in-person trainings, in the center of the page again, here are all the icons, and here is where you will find the snowshoeing guide or the cross-country skiing guide. They are together in one booklet, as Mike said, the Nordic, and here is where you will find everything you need to know about the training and the competition for the phases of in-home training. Okay. So again, I just want to show you how important it was to know where to find the Commit to Fit page. Again, you can find it under the More Than Sports tab, and then pick your item and get your information. Okay, Mike, are you ready for some questions?
Yes, I am. I've got a couple that I will field and a couple that I'll bounce your way. Regarding PPE, Lester asked about additional PPE requests. I do believe we did get a donation from Sheets of additional PPE. Carrie Wendevo from Area M is our own little Amazon station. There is an email, it's a Gmail. I'm trying to dig it up. I can't find it anywhere. But it's a Gmail account that you can make specific requests. If you shoot Chelsea an email, she can share that with you. But we do have some additional PPE that can be requested for the winter. So there was the question about from Alice. There was some confusion, I believe, about virtual winter training. So you can train and compete virtually in phase B and C, which is where you are training at your site with your athletes. Works a lot like with the fall. You send your times in, we division you, score you, do the whole 9. Phase A for all of the winter sports, so for cross country, snowshoeing, alpine, and snowboarding, that's going to be fitness heptathlon. Okay, we're not going to offer any phase A competition in our traditional outdoor snow sports. Okay. And we have a good question from Sue Jen. I'll bounce this one off of you. Can the coach also be a heptathlon unified partner, or do they need an additional coach for the unified team?
The coach who is overseeing the heptathlon may be the unified partner. There does not need to be any additional coaches. They may have a dual role for the fitness heptathlon only.
All right. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Alice, for digging that up. So the email address for additional PPE is ppesopa@gmail.com. All right, so that'll go to Carrie. It's one of those situations though where you request, you're getting a chunk of PPE. They're not going to kind of piecemeal it out. So if you're going to make a request what you need. She doesn't want to, like she said on a call the other day, she does not want to be the SOPA personal Amazon where she's getting a request for 6 masks at a time. So request what you need for the season and send it in, please. Cool. Anything else? Questions, concerns? Feel free to unmute yourself, I think, at this point. Yeah, Jen?
Sure. You can unmute yourself.
I have another question. This is Alice again. Sorry, I just turned my video on.
The Aurora Borealis, I see you.
Yeah, but, okay. So suppose your county's sustaining through December. You can't do anything but at-home training anyway. But
Correct.
January, you get out of it and you're able to do in-person training before the roster is due on February 1st. Can they still participate in winter games? Not that we want to do that, but I just want to know how to even think about this problem.
Okay, so you're saying like you guys are in phase A through December, and then once you get into the new year, you can head into phase B and start training in person?
Right, so we have fewer than 10
Mm-hmm.
that would be there, and we might have 0. So probably this is a very theoretical question.
Gotcha. So
because I know our snowshoers aren't going to be able to be, and I just know the way things are going, they're not going to be able to be in training and now in person. So they're going to miss.
I think a good way to answer it. So we're not concerned with the 8 weeks of training that we usually require, if that's kind of what you're getting down to. So we're pretty loose. We're going to be loose on that through this whole pandemic situation. So, if you guys come back in January, like January 15th, and you can only get, 6 weeks of training or whatever in, that's fine. We'll work with you guys. We don't want to hold those rules that we have in a normal situation to, make sure we're ensuring training. We want to make sure the athletes are having a chance to compete and be recognized.
So and again, that's why it's so important to join into the fitness heptathlon, so that your athletes are training, and when it's time that you can go in person, they've got some fitness going on and they're ready to go.
I know we have one of our athletes who was holding out on strides because he wanted to be ready to do snowshoeing. And if we don't have any in-person snowshoeing, then he's not going to compete in it. But I guess we could still take him a pair of snowshoes and say, here, go use these in the grass until it snows or whatever.
There you go.
But and get him to do the heptathlon as well. Okay, I just wanted to get that clear.
No problem.
Anyone else? Any questions? All right.
Nobody likes my Aurora Borealis joke? Come on.
I'm a little slow tonight.
We all are.
It is a pretty picture.
Yeah.
The colors are nice. Well, Mike, high five. We ended at 8 o'clock.
Perfect.
Thank you all very much. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Mike. And if you're looking for, have questions on snowshoeing or cross-country skiing, again, Sue Putman and Tom Marine are our gurus in those areas. So please feel free to reach out to them. And thank you. And go fitness heptathlon.
Joan, I see. What phase are you in right now? You're in whatever phase you were in the fall. So if you were in phase C, You guys are in person right now. We're going to review everything once we get to December 1st. Everybody would start in phase B if we can be in person. So you're not going to transition your fall phase into the winter. We're
Okay,
going to rewind everything and start everything back at phase B if we are low or moderate. So
okay. Thank you.
no
And
problem.
again, your field director will be in touch with you, letting you know the 1st of December where you are.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Mike, I just have a question. This is just a Winter Games thing.
Mhm.
What's going on with Delaware, Virginia, and Maryland?
Delaware is the only people that have reached out. They are not going to do any winter sports.
And
I'll touch base with Virginia and Maryland and just kind of check in and see, I'll let them know what we're doing and say, listen, if you guys want to be involved, let's make it happen.
yeah, I was going to shoot an email to Ellen Cooper, and because Maryland's just the cross-country skiers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd want to do any in-person stuff.
No, and honestly, we're not going to do anything here in Somerset.
Okay.
I mean, our athletes they're at risk, some of them, and some of my coaches are. And so we're not planning on any in-person here.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you guys, we can talk if you want to do some in-person stuff. I know, you could bring some of your athletes to the farm. Cross country and snowshoe are the sports that we are least concerned about from like a transmission standpoint, because you're outside, you're socially distanced, by nature, it's the safest sports that we have,
Right, except they come inside to my house to use the bathroom
Yeah.
and to stay warm. And I have a husband who's an esophageal cancer
Yep.
survivor and
Yep.
weighs 115 pounds. And, I don't feel comfortable doing that at this point.
It's totally
And the
understandable.
numbers are going up in Somerset too right now. So I don't know. Maybe I've become a germaphobe over the summer, but honestly, we're just being really careful.
I think that's the safest route to go, is to proceed with caution. So
Yeah.
And I think it's really going to just depend on what your program can offer, and with facility wise, athlete wise, coach wise. Okay. So again, it will be an individual program's
Right.
decision.
yeah. And so I'll touch base with you and Tom. I had a meeting with Mike Suman and Teresa today to kind of start figuring out, how we're going to manage some things for winter games. So I'll be in touch with you guys and see, what you
Okay.
want to do.
Yeah, I just was curious tonight. So
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thanks. Good seeing
Okay.
everybody.
You
Guys,
too. Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
You
you
too.
too.
Happy
Stay
Thanksgiving
safe,
all.
everyone.